to this demonstration. Shocking news. Trump Trump threatens to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. But before we get started, let me read my copyright disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. What that means is that everything that you hear in this demonstration is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Salute, Ms. Parker. Salute to the chat.
To the renaming of the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America. That is very specifically what Donald Trump said he would do.
Yes, and of course, the legality of that, the American president just can't rewrite names on maps necessarily. But Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum was asked about it in her daily briefing today. And, while it is certainly insulting to many Mexicans that this body of water that their entire lives, throughout modern history has been called the Gulf of Mexico, would somehow be magically renamed the Gulf of America. She had some fun with it at the press conference and actually sort of poked fun at Donald Trump and actually came back with her own suggestion for what this body of water could be renamed as.
Use kayaks filters to find
So, why is Trump going after the Gulf of Mexico? Why does Trump want to name the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America? Well, let's see what the president of Mexico has to say first.
Obviously, the name Gulf of Mexico is recognized by the United Nations, by a United Nations agency. Why don't we call it Mexican America? It sounds nice, right? Since 1607, the Constitution of Apatzingán referred to it as Mexican America. We're going to call it Mexican America. It sounds beautiful, right? And the Gulf of Mexico has been recognized internationally since 1607 as well. Yesterday, President Trump was misinformed. He was told that Felipe Calderón and Garcia Luna still govern in Mexico. But no, in Mexico, the people govern.
So I think this is some of the frustration you're hearing about the region that President Trump, as he did during his first term, or soon-to-be President Trump, as he did during his first term, kind of brings his own facts into the equation, and certainly that has been the frustration in Panama, where, of course, the canal now for 25 years, nearly 25 years, has been in Panamanian hands. It is being run by Panama, despite what President Trump says, that somehow China calls the shots on Panama. U.S. officials over the years have said, well, the wall.
And I agree with you, Ms. Parker. I agree with Ms. Parker. Ms. Parker says it's okay to change some laws, but that's overdoing it. I think those kind of things should just be left alone. Salute, Cotan. Salute, Michelle. I mean, this is one of the things, as of right now, this is one of the things that I disagree with Trump on. I mean, you're worrying about changing the Gulf of Mexico, which that name has been that name ever since 1607. That's over 400 years. That body of water has been known as the Gulf of Mexico. What purpose is it to change the name from the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America? I mean, it's like this, y'all. Like I said, and I'll say it again. This is one of the reasons why America is not liked around the world, because America feels as though she has to bully these other countries. Ms. Parker says it's like changing all the Martin Luther King boulevards to JFK boulevards. That's facts, Ms. Parker. That's facts. So right now, I'm not with Trump on this, wanting to change the name Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. but there's more.
They are concerned by China's rising influence in the Panama and the region. And certainly, there's no hard proof that China runs the Panama Canal. This is Panama's canal to run, and has actually been expanded more than double the number of ships now goes through the expanded post-Panamax canal. So it is very clearly Panama's to run, even if Donald Trump feels that, however, by force or by economic coercion, he can somehow take it back, the so-called bad deal of Jimmy Carter's. But this is an issue that unites all Panamanians and certainly many people in the region that remember the years of gunboat diplomacy where the U.S. sort of took over states that it disagreed with or where it saw economic importance. So whether it's Greenland or Mexico or Panama, a lot of pushback today from these comments by President-elect Donald Trump.
President-elect Donald Trump is insisting that the United States should expand its territory, calling for Canada to become the 51st state, threatening to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and world leaders are standing up to Trump's suggestions that he might even use military force to take over Greenland and the Panama Canal.
We're definitely going to be in a world war. Now he's talking about going after Greenland. He's talking about making Canada a state of the United States of America. Listen, Trump. Let's clean up our backyards first before we start trying to just bully these other countries. They're not just going to sit around and just let you bully them. I mean, that's just like somebody coming in your house, you feeding them, and then after you feed them, they walk out with your money. And it's like, dude, the rest of the world, they're not scared of you. Let's put it in its proper perspective. They respect you, but don't think for 1 second that these world leaders are scared of Donald Trump, because they're not. They're not. We've all been in situations like this before. I've been in this type of situation, and I'm sure y'all have been in these kind of situations where as though people take your weakness, your kindness for weakness. So Trump, let's don't get it twisted now. These countries, and they have military forces just as well as we got military forces. They ain't gonna back down. Now you talking about renaming the Gulf of Mexico, you're talking about renaming that to the Gulf of America. Is it because the president of Mexico, because she's a female, and you're just, trying your hand? What is it? Now you talking about making Canada, the 50s, the 55th state or 54th state? But he's talking about making Canada a part of the United States of America. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen without a war.
Listen.
Just as a matter of principle, for us it is clear the sovereignty of states has to be respected.
You are asking me if I think the United States will invade Greenland. The answer is no. Have we entered an era that sees the return of the survival of the fittest? The answer is yes. And so, should we let ourselves be intimidated? Should we let worry take over? Of course not.
Greenland is not mega. Greenland is not going to be mega.
What I just say, Greenland is not going for it. Greenland, along with Mexico, along with Canada, they're not just going for it. They're not just going to lay down without a fight. And once again, we are already, our military is already weakened. Now, do you want another war? Do you want to? But the military is out helping other countries. Now, what's going to happen when the military has to fight for this country on our own soil? Because don't get it twisted and think that it can't happen. I'm telling y'all, we are headed for World War III. Mark my words, y'all. We are headed for World War III.
No es negociable. Las únicas manos que controlan el canal son panameñas y así seguirá siendo.
Obviously, the name Gulf of Mexico is recognized by the United Nations, by a United Nations agency. Why don't we call it Mexican America? It sounds nice, right?
If you've been waiting to apply for disability benefits, don't. Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm a lawyer.
Y'all let me know what y'all think. Ms. Parker says, fact, Shank. She says, I bet they'll go vote the next election. Ms. Parker says, that's pushing the control too far. And I agree. Ms. Parker says, this is some crazy work, Trump. I don't agree with this, with Trump. I don't agree with it.
Let's discuss with Republican Senator Pete Ricketts of Nebraska. Senator, thank you so much for being with us. Would you be comfortable with sending U.S. troops, as President Trump suggested yesterday he's considering, to take over what is effectively sovereign land?
Well, I think you all are missing the bigger picture here of what President Trump is trying to do. He's thinking about the long-term security of the Western Hemisphere. We know, for example, the Russian and now Chinese are looking at the Arctic and how they can exploit that. That obviously concerns not only us, but everybody in the Western Hemisphere. And he's thinking about our long-term protection. Same thing with regard to Panama. We know that the Chinese Communist Party and the People's Republic of China has positions, owns ports on both sides of that canal, and that puts us at risk in a potential conflict. So he's thinking about the long-term security, and he's starting a negotiation. And that's what this is about. And I guarantee you there's a lot more people today thinking about the risk that the Russians posed to us through that Northwest Passage than were just a couple of days ago.
And that might be true. That might be true. However, we got bigger fish to fry. And those bigger fish that we have to fry happens to be what is going on in this country. Not about trying to secure and trying to lock down other parts of the world and make other parts of the world a part of us. No, we have to lock down these issues that we are going through. Larry says he damn greedy. He gonna mess this country up big time. Yes, I agree with you, Larry. I mean, come on, Trump. Come on, Trump. And y'all know I rocks with Trump. But right is right and wrong is wrong. And on this, I believe that he's wrong. I do believe that Trump is wrong. But let's listen to some more.
So I do want to ask you about what you mentioned, that Hong Kong-based company that owns seaports on both sides of the Panama Canal. But I do want to go back to the question because Trump is putting out there the idea that the U.S. military might be involved in some kind of foreign entanglement over sovereign territory. How do you square that with his campaign promises about keeping the U.S. out of needless wars?
Well, I think what's actually happening is the press asked him if there was anything he was going to take off the table. And as a negotiator, he said, no, nothing is going to be taken off the table because that's the way Trump negotiates. And by the way, I might point out that when he was president before, he did an outstanding job of negotiating different trade agreements, buying more of our agricultural products because of his trade negotiating style. So it really gets back to President Trump is beginning a negotiation. He's also trying to think long-term about the threats to this country and keep us safe. And that is what he's talking about when he's talking about Greenland or the Panama Canal. How do we keep this country safe long-term for some of the threats we see from countries like Russia and the People's Republic of China?
Sure. I do wonder about the approach, though, Senator, because there is the risk of alienating allies. And to your point about Chinese influence over shipping and port operations around the world, it is a risk, especially if they weaponize supply chains, which they have shown a willingness to do. That Hong Kong-based company that owns those seaports at both ends of the canal, those are private infrastructure investments, and Chinese firms have done this all over Latin America, all over Africa as well. I'm sure this isn't news to you. I wonder if you think the U.S. would gain more in competing with Beijing by expanding those same kind of investments, making more partners, rather than bullying, hinting that we'll use force if we don't get what we want.
It is a mistake to believe that any sort of private company in China is actually private the way we think of it here in the United States. It's simply not true. Under Chinese law, every Chinese company has to do whatever the central government wants it to do. It's called communism. It's something China's been governed under for decades. And just because they've changed some of the ways they've done things doesn't mean that every Chinese company doesn't have to do what the central government does. So the fact that these are under Hong Kong companies doesn't mean anything. They would have to do exactly what the Chinese government.
Nevertheless, sir, on the question of the approach to these foreign countries, is it better to suggest that you might send your military to Panama, or potentially suggest that there might be a way that we could work together on infrastructure projects to maintain U.S. influence in this hemisphere?
I think that, first of all, again, people missing the bigger picture. President Trump was asked if anything was on the table, and he said everything's on the table. That is where a lot of this is coming from. And yes, absolutely, we have to do a better job of getting out there and telling our story, of making our investments, making sure that we're targeting our investments and our aid to countries that are helping us out, and doing more, for example, in Africa to be able to combat what China's doing there. Panama Canal is another example. Yes, we have to do a better job. This Biden-Harris administration has utterly failed us on foreign policy. Their appeasement-first approach has left us less safe. We have to do a better job in this next administration.
Senator, I do want to get to quickly the fact that Trump is set to meet with Senate Republican leaders later today. I imagine he's going to try to persuade some folks on his cabinet picks. I know you met with Pete Hegseth last month. Are you prepared to vote to confirm him for defense secretary?
Every one of the cabinet secretaries has a process that they're going to go through and follow. One step is meeting with the senators, such as Pete meeting with me. And then, well, they'll go through a public hearing process, and then we'll have a vote. So we need.
Ryan says everything is better under Trump. He makes everything great. Y'all hating because he don't put up with BS. Michelle says in 2025, this country is going to be in big trouble. Yes, Michelle, this country is going to be in big, big trouble. And I got news for you, Ryan. Everything that Trump does is not right. You know what I mean? Everything that Trump does is not right. And we'll be fools if we sit up here and go with that narrative. No matter what president is in office. That's just like Obama. Everything that Obama done as a president wasn't right. Everything that Reagan done, everything that Bill Clinton, everything that Biden done, and everything that Trump does is not right. And we as Americans, we have to understand that. And that's something that we have to realize. And it's okay when whoever is in office, if they make a mistake, it's okay. You want me to name something that Trump done is wrong? I'm going to tell you what Trump done was wrong. One thing that he done was wrong when he instigated the January 6th Capitol building riot. Now, that was wrong what Trump done. And any and everybody that think that Trump didn't play a part in that, then, you know, you just as a bigger fool as anybody to believe that Biden made a better president than Trump. I mean, come on, man. You know, come on. Come on. Trump makes mistakes. Trump is human. Trump is just like everybody else. He's the most transparent president. I agree with that, Ryan. I never said he wasn't transparent. I do believe he's the most transparent president, but I also believe he's making a big mistake trying to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. I also think he's making a big mistake by going after Greenland, and I also think he's making a big mistake by trying to make Canada a part of the United States of America. Ryan says, nope, they were already doing that before his speech was over. You're wrong. Well, I'm not going to argue with you, Ryan. I'm not going to argue with you. You are entitled to your opinion, just like I'm entitled to my opinion. So I'm not going to argue with you. But if you think that everything that Trump does is right, come on now. I don't do everything that's right. Salute, Valentina. Nobody does everything right. Now, if you can honestly sit up here and believe that everything that Trump does is right, come on, then you're part of the problem. Because nobody does everything right. Nobody. We all make mistakes. Ryan says he did for this country. He's not the best president that this country has ever had. He's not. He's better than Biden. In my opinion, he's better than Biden. He make a better president than Kamala. Then when you put up other presidents up against Trump, right, Frank, nobody's perfect. If you could put Obama up against Trump. And I promise you, you're going to have a lot of people that's going to say Trump is a better president than Obama. But then you're going to have just the same amount of people that's going to say Obama made the better president. You're going to have people that's going to say Reagan was a better president than Trump. You're going to have people that's going to say Jimmy Carter was better than Trump. Trump was not the best president. And I like the guy. I like the guy. Everybody know I like Trump. But Trump is not the best president that this United States of America has ever had. He's not. Now, he's transparent. He says what he means and means what he say. He takes care of business. I do believe that the majority of the things that Trump done and does is right. That's the majority of it. But at the same time, I do feel like he make mistakes. I feel like he make mistakes. I feel like he's no different from any other president. Salute, Jamie. Salute, Jamie. Maybe this is your first time over here with me, Ryan. If it's your first time over here with me, I'm not a Democrat nor Republican. I'm not a Trump supporter, but I'm not against Trump. With me, I'm all about giving you the good, the bad, and the ugly on everybody. Just as well as I give you the good on Trump, I'm going to give you the bad and the ugly. Obama, I'm going to give you the bad and the ugly. Just like I will give you the bad and ugly on Biden. I still would turn around and give you the good on Biden. So this may be your first time over here and you might think that I'm against Trump. I'm not against Trump. I'm not against him. I do think Trump makes a good president. I've always said I think he makes a good president, but some things that Trump does, I do disagree with.
Need to let the entire process play out. But I got to tell you, I had a very good conversation with Pete Hegseth, and I look forward to hearing what his public hearing is going to be like, and that's what will be true for all the cabinet nominees.
So you are reserving, awaiting that confirmation process to decide whether you will vote or not for Hegseth?
Well, we have a process that every one of the candidates will go through, every one of the cabinet nominees will go through. We need to allow that process to play out. It includes meetings such as senators with me, but also the public hearing as well. And that's going to be important for all the cabinet nominees.
Senator Pete Ricketts, I wish we had more time.
I also think with Trump coming in, cleaning up the FBI and the DOJ, I think that's an excellent thing. I think him hiring Kash Patel to be the director of the FBI, I think that's a good move. I'm with Trump on that. I think the FBI needs to get cleaned up, as well as the DOJ.
Not just about America's politics, but foreign policy as well. For example, he intends to rename the Gulf of Mexico like we know it, and that could be called as Gulf of America here on. He's also mentioned that Panama Canal and Greenland, for economic security, need the United States of America, and possibly referring to a certain merger. Then he's also said he's not ruling out use of military force if required. He's also not shying away when it comes to a threatening nature with Canada, a neighbor country. He's saying that there are serious trade issues, and if required, economic force could be used against Canada. He anyway has said, remember, that he wants Canada to become the 51st state.
So he wants Canada to be the 51st state. What is your thoughts on that, Ryan? What is your thoughts on Trump wanting Canada to be the 51st state, 53rd state? Talk to me about that. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with Canada being a part of the United States of America? And if you agree with it, please share with me why you agree.
Like you see the visuals on his screen, that the right
They owe us billions. Hell yeah. Just because a country owe us billions of dollars, that China owe us money. The whole world owe us money. I mean, come on. Just because they owe us money don't mean that we got a right to make them a part of this country. I tell you what, Ryan. I tell you what. If you agree with this, just get ready for World War III.
Of the Capitol attack could also be pardoned. And then, with regard to the Israel-Hamas war, he has said, if the hostages, and these are multinational, multi-ethnicity hostages that were taken away and kidnapped by Hamas, if are not released till he takes over, then there's going to be all hell breaking loose.
We need them for economic security. The Panama Canal was built for our military. I'm not going to commit to that now. It might be that you'll have to do something. Look, the Panama Canal is vital to our country. It's being operated by China. China. And we gave the Panama Canal to Panama. We didn't give it to China. And they've abused it. They've abused that gift. It should have never been made, by the way. Giving the Panama Canal is why Jimmy Carter lost the election, in my opinion.
Ryan says, who's going to go to war with us? Rome. Rome thought nobody could beat Rome. Remember? Everybody thinks that they are the big bad wolf. A lot of Americans think that America is untouchable. Yeah? I got news for you. There are plenty. China will go to war with us. China. I guarantee you, China will go to war with us. Now tell me that China won't go to war with us. Tell me that China won't go to war with us. Tell me China won't. You ask me who will go to war with America. China will go. Stop thinking that America is the baddest country on the earth. We're not. We're not. We good at manipulating other countries. We good at calling. We good at bluffing. But those other countries know just how weak we are. Trust me. We ain't the big bad wolf that we think we are.
More so maybe than the hostages. The hostages were a big deal. Economic force. Because Canada and the United States, that would really be something. You get rid of that artificially drawn line, and you take a look at what that looks like, and it would also be much better for national security. Don't forget, we basically protect Canada. And as you see, I guess 24 or 28 people came now from the FBI. That came out very quietly. Nobody reported it, but they had people in some form related to the FBI. They had 4 or 5 people that were strongly related to the FBI. We have to find out about that. We have to find out about Hezbollah. We have to find out about who exactly was in that whole thing, because people that did some bad things were not prosecuted. You know, I see it all the time, and you see it too. People that were doing some bad things weren't prosecuted, and people that didn't even walk into the building are in jail right now. So we'll be looking at the whole thing, but I'll be making major pardons. All hell will break out. If those hostages aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East.
Let me tell y'all, and you heard what he said. We are headed for World War III. Trust me, y'all. Trust me. I'm with Trump on a lot of things, but I'm not with him on this. And I'm going to tell y'all why. Because we already have a lot of cleaning up to do in this country. We are not in position to be fighting no war. We don't have time to be fighting no war. We have enough in this country that we have to deal with. If, mark my word, if Trump goes after Mexico, if Trump goes after Greenland, if Trump goes after Canada, I promise y'all, we will be in World War III. Salute to Full Life. Salute to Full Life. Full Life says Trump on his Trump-ish. Bridge says that's patently false. Ryan says he doesn't want to go to war. I'm going to let you think what you want to think, Ryan. Trust me. We're headed for World War III. Get ready.
And it will not be good for Hamas and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out. I don't have to say anymore, but that's what it is. And they should have given him back a long time. They should have never taken him. They should have never been the attack of October 7th. People forget.
For Life says those military generals not gonna listen to him. I ain't worried. Aura says 100%. You gotta remember, it was his general that walked away from him. His last general don't had nothing nice to say about Trump. Like I said, I'm for Trump. I think Trump makes a good president. However, there are things that I disagree with Trump. There are things that I disagree with him on. And this is one of those that I disagree. We ain't got time to be trying to bully no other countries. We ain't got time to be making no demands to no other countries. Get in office and clean up this country. Plain and simple. Nothing more, nothing less. No reply says Norway, they are our ally. Canada, question mark. They our ally. We brought Alaska from Russia. Listen, y'all. Listen. Trump, get in office and clean up this country. That's all I'm saying. We ain't got time to be demanding other countries to do this, to do that. He wants to change the Gulf of Mexico. He wants to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Please explain me what is that about?
Get that. And we're going to be announcing a future date pretty soon. We're going to change, because we do most of the work there and it's ours. We're going to be changing sort of the opposite of Biden, where he's closing everything up, essentially getting rid of $50 to $60 trillion worth of assets. We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name. And it's appropriate. It's appropriate.
So remember, when you're also referring to other countries, they also have something to say in return. Panama's foreign minister is reaffirming country's steadfast control over the Panama Canal, despite what appears to be threats from US President-elect. Here's what Panama has to say.
La soberanía de nuestro canal no es negociable y es parte de nuestra historia de lucha y una conquista irreversible. Nuestro canal tiene la misión de servir a la humanidad y su comercio. Ese es uno de los grandes valores que los panameños ofrecemos al mundo, dándole garantía a la comunidad internacional de no tomar parte ni ser parte activa en conflicto alguno. Las únicas manos que controlan el canal son panameñas y así seguirá siendo. Somos un país abierto al diálogo, hoy y siempre, a las inversiones y a las buenas relaciones, pero con la clara consigna que la patria está en primer lugar.
And remember, another island country that he mentioned was Greenland, that possibly it needs a merger again with the USA and more. Amid all of this, Trump Jr. landed in Greenland. And also there was a surprise message from Donald Trump to the supporters, and Trump Jr. had quite a bunch of the MAGA supporters there on the ground. Here are visuals coming in from Junior Trump's visit and what Donald Trump has to say.
Fried chicken and wontons and teriyaki glaze and an egg roll. Some people think the Zaxby Sensation salad is too delicious to be a salad.
And I think we can go up there with his two very talented friends and the other group, a lot of other people. So I just want to say that it's a very special place. It needs security for itself, but it also needs security very much for the world. The location really, you see the people and the ships sailing around, and they're not the right ships, and they're not the ships you want to know about. So we need security, and our country needs it, and the whole world needs it.
Yes.
It's so strategically located.
Yeah.
You're right.
You guys like that, right?
Industrialist Gaurav Sawant explains basically, remember, the geography, the geopolitical situation when it comes to not just Panama but also Greenland here. It's the world's largest island. Why is it currently a flashpoint for Donald Trump?
Why is the Arctic region being talked about so extensively in the past several years now? Why is the US eyeing this region? Let's break it down for you. Now, there are reports that say that Arctic is extremely rich in natural resources that are untapped. It holds the world's 13% of undiscovered oil and 30% of untapped natural gas. So who will control these resources? Under the polar ice, there's an estimate $1 trillion worth of rare earth metals, and these are reports in the United States of America. Once this region and that polar ice is melting and melting very fast, in the past 50 years it's down to 50%, ice-free ocean is also opening up shorter routes, newer routes for trade, for shipping. China's talking about the polar Silk Route. And this is where the Asian markets and the Western markets, and take a look at those new routes. Who controls this territory? Who controls the routes? The borderline of the Arctic Ocean. And we want to show you that. Just look at all the countries where they are on the map. Once all this ice melts, every country gets a default maritime border of about 200 nm or nautical miles from their coast. Rest of that water, it doesn't fall into the exclusive economic zone of any country. It's up for grabs. Whoever can prove this belongs to them. Russia already arming some of this region. Russia's already planted a flag on the polar floor.
But the biggest showdown is expected with Canada, because literally there Donald Trump is saying there needs to be a merger.
Appreciate that for life. Appreciate that for life.
Become the 51st state. People in Canada want it, but it looks like that the leaders of Canada, irrespective of differences in internal politics, have said that is not going to happen. And why does Donald Trump believe that Canada deserves to become now a part of the USA? It's trade issues here center stage.
Only field or can.
Why does Trump, and I'm going to leave y'all with that. Why does Trump feel as though Canada should be a part of the United States of America? Salute, everybody. I will see y'all back tomorrow. Salute. I'll see y'all in the morning. I'll see y'all at 7 a.m. in the morning.